Welcome to Tennessee Court Talk. I'm Joette Giroux, Communications Writer for the Administrative Office of the Courts. I am your host for this episode featuring 32nd Judicial District Circuit Court Judge Mike Spitzer and 21st Judicial District Circuit Court Judge Woodruff. Depression is becoming more commonly reported among adults and adolescents in the United States, but most are not getting therapy to help, according to a new report from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. More than 1 in 8 people ages 12 and up in the U.S. have been depressed in recent years, according to recent data published by the CDC's National Center for Health Statistics. Depression prevalence has nearly doubled from 7.3% in 2015 to 2016 to more than 13% in 2021 through 2023. What you may not know is that depression affects people of all stripes, no matter their profession or socioeconomic status. For some people, the inherent nature of their job can make them more susceptible to depression, and that's what we're focused on today. Judicial depression refers to a state of clinical depression experienced by judges, often stemming from the inherent stressors and heavy workloads associated with their profession. This can manifest as persistent sadness, loss of interest, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, potentially affecting a judge's ability to effectively perform their duties. Welcome, Judge Spitzer and Judge Woodruff.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Judge Spitzer, most people have an idea of what it means to be depressed, but sometimes it doesn't look like that classic definition. Describe some of the other forms of depression and what they might look like, such as high-functioning depression and anhedonia.
Yeah, a unique area for judges has to do with anhedonia and high-functioning depression. And it's not the classic form of depression that we all think about. For years at judicial conferences, I would stand up as the chairman of the TLAP Commission and mention to the judges that we want to help them if they are in the throes of depression. And in my mind, even I thought that depression was one where the judge wouldn't be able to get out of bed each day. They'd be weeping and crying. But we've discovered that that's not the case for judges at all. And judges, because of the way that they function, high efficiency, stress each day, each one of the judges that we have a job to do, and they focus on that job to the exclusion of themselves. And so what happens is they are working each day in a high-stress environment. They want to get the job done, so that their whole life is surrounded by the thought process of, if this gets done, I have to do it. And so they're generally driven people. Most judges are driven. Most people that are judges have a past even where they were pushing to receive the benefits of being a judge. But what happens is they focus on that so much that they lose the joy of life, and that's what anhedonia is. They get caught up in it before they even know it's there. And so this type of depression is one that we need to tell judges. You need to balance your life. You need to think about other areas that you can focus on rather than going home. And I've even caught myself at going home and talking to my wife, for example, and I keep thinking that I'm in the courtroom and my mind is saying, okay, as if she's a lawyer, okay, get this over with. I know where you're going with it, and let's move on. You just take your job home with you and take your job out in the world. And you begin to focus on that so much, you're depressed and you don't even know it. And then one day an event might happen that triggers everything, and you discover you can't function anymore.
How does someone spot these symptoms in themselves and others?
One of the ways is what I was just saying. Begin looking at yourself, and all of us, judges or anyone who is in a high-efficiency career, needs to begin self-analyzing themselves and taking a break. We look at vacations as a way to stop and think just a little bit, but self-analysis is the greatest way to do that, and meditate a little bit on what am I doing day by day, and am I functioning in a way that I'm enjoying life.
Now, according to the CDC, cases of depression have doubled in recent years. Is the Judiciary also experiencing an uptick in cases?
It is. Everyone is. I'll give you an example from the Tennessee Lawyers Assistance Program. When TLAP was founded, our focus was on addiction and sobriety. Last year and the year before that, we had over 50%, generally in the area of 60+% of the referrals that came to us, self-referrals and referrals from the BPR or BLE, that were stress and anxiety related. So it began really with COVID, the stress that came from COVID, and we see now that not only the judiciary but most of the lawyers who are in stressful situations, they're calling for referrals that we can give them, and also give literature at times to help them recognize that this is so common for all of us. What we really want to press is people should not be hiding that. They should not be shamed by it. Everyone is a human being, and we all have a human nature that pulls us away from the things that are valuable in life.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned some of these already, but what are some of the things unique to the judiciary that do cause depression? Judiciary
is a vocation that causes judges to see and to hear things that are not helpful. It's a very rare domestic case, and I hear both domestic cases and criminal cases, but it's a very rare domestic cases that I don't end that case telling, and my judges in my district already know this, because I'll usually say, what are my 2 words? And at the end of every domestic case, the 2 words that I have are poor children. And so we're seeing where children are destroyed by parents who are fighting in a domestic situation. Alienation issues are huge now where they didn't used to be, but parental alienation is a huge area. Co-parenting is very difficult for people to do, and dysfunctional homes are rampant. Let me just say one other thing, too, because in the criminal area, judges see and hear things that the public is not aware of. I speak at different places, and I try to give some statistics about homicides and assaults, human trafficking, child sexual abuse is up probably 35%, and the kinds of things that are happening to victims. We need to have, and most of the time do have, therapists for jurors who are hearing those kind of cases. Things are so bad.
Now, Judge Woodruff, you've actually experienced depression yourself. Would you share your story with us?
Sure, Joette, I'm glad to. First of all, I want to tell you how fortunate I am to have the privilege of being a judge. I love it. I love everything about it. For me, it's the pinnacle of the career path that I started out on when I first started law school in 1978. I tell people that this feels like this was what I was put on earth to do. I enjoy everything about it. I enjoy the complexity. I enjoy the variety of cases as a trial judge that I get to see in my judicial district, where we're not stovepipes where we just have just criminal or just domestic. In our judicial district, we have what I call the combination pizza docket. You take the pie, you put every kind of conceivable case on it, you stick it in the oven, and when it's done, you cut it in 4 pieces, and each judge takes their slice. I enjoy the interaction with lawyers, and one of my favorite days of the week is Thursdays, because that's my non-criminal motions docket, and having the variety of cases and interacting with clients, litigants, lawyers is just very enjoyable, and it's something I take a great deal of satisfaction in. A few years ago, I had a health issue arise where I ended up I had to have surgery to address, and surgery was highly successful, and I had a great outcome. Returned to work on time after post-op. I was astonished at how work held no joy for me. It wasn't that I had a negative feeling towards it. It wasn't like I disliked it. It was this neutral feeling of like, there's no joy here. I had intrusive thoughts about my own mortality that I had not experienced before. Even though I'm at an age where nothing's going to happen to me prematurely, still that was concerning, that just in the middle of trying to work on something, the thought that I might die before the end of the day unexpectedly would intrude and distract me. And it was just this absence of any kind of enjoyment in what I do for a living. It was like everything was in black and white as opposed to Technicolor. I called Mike Spitzer at TLAP, and I told him what was going on. And within an hour, I got a call back from one of the behavioral health experts at TLAP, and we had a very productive conversation on the phone. We had a couple of follow-up calls and interactions. What became clear to me was that I was still experiencing some of the effects of the anesthesia that I had, the general anesthesia that I had in this surgical procedure, and that even though my body had fully metabolized the anesthesia, and that was all well and good from a physical standpoint, that biochemically and in my brain chemistry had still not completely recovered from the anesthesia. And my ability to enjoy what I did for a living, my ability to experience positive emotions and joy had been adversely affected by the anesthesia. Within a few days, I got some good coaching on some behavioral health approaches and some things I could do on my own, which I did, and it didn't require any medical intervention, it didn't require any medication or anything like that. But I would say, well, within a week to 10 days, I was back to the same level of engagement and enjoyment of the work that I've undertaken in my profession and delivering judicial services, and the same self-actualization that I achieved from practicing this calling had returned. I am eternally grateful for TLAP. If it hadn't been for that, I'm not sure exactly where I would have gone. I was kind of lost at sea before, and it was a great solution, quickly achieved through the confidential, totally free service that is available to judges through TLAP.
Do you consider yourself recovered from depression, or
Oh.
did you still use some of those techniques along the way and through the years?
You learn some self-care techniques, and those are always handy to have in your toolbox.
What advice would either of you give judges experiencing depression, and just, again, what resources are available to them, programs, websites, etc.?
At every judicial conference, I almost beg judges to call me or make referrals if you know of a judge who's having issues. At TLAP, as Judge Woodruff said, every call is totally confidential. The judicial family is a very close-knit family, and we do care about one another, and we love what we do. The best advice I can give is if you feel that you are depressed or if you feel that you're lacking joy, that really is the thrust of anhedonia, is just a lack of joy in life. We all experience that. And judges need to recognize that it's not going to hurt their profession, it's not going to hurt their standing, it's not going to hurt their position in the community, because there's not a single person today that could tell us, I've never felt alone, or I've never felt as if I'm not functioning like I should. Everyone can say that's truthful. And so my best advice is call someone that you know cares about you. And TLAP cares about all of the judges and lawyers in the state.
Judge Woodruff, do you have anything to add?
Well, I would simply say that depression, whether it's clinical depression or high-functioning depression, anhedonia, is about isolation, and recovery is about community. And we have great community in the Tennessee Judiciary, and TLAP is an indispensable part of that community.
Judge Spitzer and Judge Woodruff, it was a pleasure talking with you today. Thank you for joining us on Tennessee Court Talk. To learn more about the Tennessee State Judiciary, please visit us at tncourts.gov.